Welcome, welcome, everybody. We're just going to get kicked off in a couple minutes, but it's great to see the attendees roll in, and we'll get started in 2 minutes. Hopefully, everyone's having a fabulous Thursday. Lots of snow and fun happening here in Toronto.
It's nice. It's mid-high 70s in Georgia. It's could be worse winter day.
I'm envious, Matt. I'll have to book a trip. Yeah, great stuff. We see lots of great attendees rolling in. And we'll get started in just about a minute. Okay. Wow. Let's get started. Welcome, everybody, to the Sourcing with AI and How to Maximize the Human Connection webinar. And, thank you to Terrazzo, Humanly, and North Star for sponsoring this. I am Corey Shaw. I lead North Star Talent, which is devoted to empowering organizations with an effective talent strategy, the right processes and technologies and insights to improve hiring. I've got 20 plus years experience leading talent acquisition programs at wonderful organizations like TD, Canada Life, Cooperators, the Salvation Army, and I'm just honored to help organizations elevate their hiring programs. Um, just before I introduce our esteemed panel, once again, this is all about how AI is transforming talent acquisition, and how do you harness its power without losing that human touch. Today, we're going to explore how industry leaders are blending cutting edge AI tools with the art of relationship building to create those deep, meaningful connections in the hiring process, and how to discover actionable insights to elevate your sourcing strategy and integrate AI effectively while ensuring the candidates feel valued at every step. Um, and so I would love to introduce our panel, starting with Matt Raymond. And Matt is the VP of product at Humanly. And Matt has over 10 years experience in product and executive leadership. Formerly the CEO of Teamable, he has played a crucial role in advancing AI innovation at companies such as MailChimp and Pindrop. Matt's work underscores his deep understanding of AI's impact on HR technology, MarTech, and biometric security, with a very specific focus on ensuring ethical AI implementations in recruiting and beyond. Welcome, Matt.
Good to be here, Corey. Thank you.
Super. And Jared Lubitz is a seasoned talent acquisition leader, recruiting professional and business owner, strategist, and entrepreneur with a proven track record of building high performing teams and driving companies' success through innovative talent strategies. Jared is known for his hands on approach, playing a pivotal role in assembling some of the best teams across many industries involving e commerce, healthcare, cloud, fintech, biopharma, crypto, and augmented reality, just to name a few. Jared has extensive experience in full cycle recruiting, strategic sourcing, optimizing processes, DEI, and he has successfully partnered with many C-level executives to secure top talent for those key roles. And finally, Jared blends that analytical acumen with exceptional communication skills and enabling hiring success. So welcome, Jared.
Thanks, Corey. Great to be here.
Awesome. Well, folks, let's dive right in. And I think it's so important to always start with the why. And so, Jared, we'll start with you. Why have you chosen to blend AI with human touch when you consider that candidate experience?
I think it's really important to make sure that you're always efficient and effective in doing as much as you can, as quickly as you can. But I think that a lot of times AI is still going through that, we'll call it discovery process. So I think it's constantly important to make sure that the candidate experience doesn't suffer and it continues to be harnessed. So I think leveraging AI and the functionality of it and how to use it in an effective way, but making sure that you really kind of focus on delivering a great candidate experience. I think that's something that will kind of continue to evolve over the course of time. But I think anything that makes me and the things that I do and any company I partner with or organizations as a whole much more efficient and effective, especially in some of the economic challenges and company challenges we're facing now. I think leveraging AI to make what we do continue to be effective or not more, if not more effective, but do it in a much more efficient way. AI certainly, I think, speeds that up and also makes it a lot more efficient. But I think it's really important to make sure that you don't lose the human touch piece of it too.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. Matt, what are your thoughts when it comes to blending AI with that human touch for a great candidate experience?
Yeah, you bet. I mean, for humanly and for me, it's a pretty easy choice, right? If you think about how do you scale yourself? Like, how does Jared scale himself to provide the personal touch, to, cast a far and wide enough net in an outbound capacity to deal with the amount of applicants that are coming in, especially in today's market. The AI and the intersection of how you communicate with candidates, how you communicate your career brand, your EVP, your culture. That's hard to do at scale, and have the candidate really feel that personal touch. AI is a great way to provide that scale. At least that's how we think and feel it humanly. And all the things that we do with AI are really geared for someone like Jared or someone like yourself, Corey, to focus on how would I, given the opportunity, want to talk and introduce myself, this company, this role. If I had all the time in the world to do it, how do I do that and kind of rinse and repeat in a way that is reflective of myself and the company and the role that I'm representing? And AI is a great way to do that through scale, through generative AI, the way you communicate and the way you kind of convey and elevate that entire kind of brand for yourself. So I think that was the place to start, for us as it pertains to AI and talent acquisition and recruiting. So I think the choice was easy. That and scaling yourself as a recruiter is extremely hard to do. AI is one of those ways you should be able to do that and to do it transparently. It should just be easy for you to do it. So that's my 2 cents, but I think I think that this should hopefully resonate with folks.
Yeah, I hear you. And you touched on a couple of elements there where, how do you do it at scale and how do you have those as we say moments that matter. So let me ask you, tell me about what are the moments that matter to create the meaningful connections in the candidate experience from your view?
Yeah, I think every touch point you have is an opportunity, but for me, I think the bookends are really important when you're dealing with candidates. So, if you think about like two directions as you engage in an outbound capacity, how do you really engage a candidate and do it in a way that feels like it's just them? You're just talking to them. They're the only candidate for the specific role. And how do you, again, pull forward some of this, not just personalized, to who they are and their background, but make it in a way where they can learn about you. They learn about the hiring manager. They can learn about the company. They can learn about your culture and your benefits. And how do you get them out of potentially like the email domain and extend other channels for them to have a more conversational experience with you at scale again, and have it feel like it's built just for them. So that initial bookend, and imagine from an applicant experience as well. I mean, if I'm applying to a job, what's the worst thing and the worst experience you can have? I mean, other than, potentially not getting the role is just, you just don't hear anything. It's radio silence, right? So there's an opportunity through AI for you to be able to kind of cultivate that experience that you want and put that best foot forward, whether you're reaching out to someone in a passive capacity or you're responding to them as they are showing interest in you, your role, and your company. And you can kind of normalize that across those two directions and leverage AI to, again, create that personal touch and use some of those other kind of moments that you've created as a career brand to really make it feel like they're special and that they have a good like kind of window into what it would look like to work with you. So and then the last thing I'll say is, the bookend around potentially moving on from a candidate is there should be a outcome for everybody, right? Whether you're an applicant, whether you're a passive candidate, AI, again, at scale allows you to create that personalization, especially when you've got thousands and thousands of applicants. And, rather than going into a black hole, or feeling like you haven't been observed or even seen, there is a way to do that at scale. There's a way for you to provide the experience you would want every applicant to get, and hold their hand through that process. So to me, I think every opportunity and every status change is an opportunity for you to extend that personal touch. But the bookends to me are, how do you introduce yourself as a company and as a brand, and then how do you exit the process, are two areas where I think you can really excel using AI.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, there's really something to that black hole, right? And never hearing back, and love the bookends, and giving them the meaningful updates expediently, to me is so important. Jared, to talk to us about those moments that matter from your perspective.
That's hard. That's a hard act to follow. That was pretty thorough and gave a lot of information. And I would agree with most of that. I think personalization is really important. I think there's so much, we'll call it negative sentiment these days from a candidate perspective, because to Matt's point, there's so much ghosting. And while there are a lot of recruiters or a lot of people from that perspective that are out there that are not very good at their job, there's a lot of them that are exceptional at their job, but they're just overwhelmed. And unfortunately, with the current market conditions over the past couple of years, to Matt's point, I mean, you could have 1,000. I could tell you from my own personal experience. I posted a job about a week ago. I literally, within 4 hours, had 365 people apply. In 24 hours, I had over 1,000. I had to stop it. I mean, like, it's overwhelming and you can't get to that. So the reason I'm saying that is there's a lot of unfortunate sentiment of what comes along with that. And so it's really important to make sure that you leverage technology, and specifically AI enables you to do that, because there's a lot of anti-company sentiment coming from a candidate's perspective. There's a lot of, if you're reaching out to them and they're being prospected all the time because people are prospecting them with jobs that are fake, or there's scam opportunities out there, or they go through, I'm very interested in you, and then they're ghosted. And so there's a lot of that sort of rhetoric and a lot of that anti-sentiment out there. So I think it's really important to make sure that the message is personalized and you differentiate yourself. I think in times like now, it's even more critical for people to believe that you're real and you're not one of the others. I know from my perspective, creating that identity is really important. So AI allows for that to happen. Teamable allows for that to happen. There's a lot of opportunity for personalization. There's a lot of opportunity for high touch. There's a lot of opportunity to make sure that the candidate feels special and unique. I have always been a big proponent of a good candidate experience, or I should say, good client experience. I look at everybody as a client, my colleagues, the business, candidates, whoever. So I'm very much about a good client experience, but I think a candidate experience, because it's all in how you start it and how it ultimately transcends itself. It begins when you start talking to them. So if it's personalized, and if they feel like they're being heard and they're being respected and all these other things, I think AI allows the ability to kind of make them feel special, make them feel like you care, and really heighten the communication, especially as we're doing the job that is difficult to begin with, but has become infinitely more difficult for the reasons I've mentioned and many more.
Amazing stuff, Jared. And you touched on some great themes there, that personalization, and that opportunity to treat the candidate like a client or a potential client. And I always say those candidates, they're kind of in almost sometimes an emotionally vulnerable state, right? And so giving them that personal touch, I think, is so important. And some great insights, folks. And let's talk now about how you build the approach, and want some of your expertise and background on how do you build it and how do you harmonize it within an organization's existing talent technology stack. Jared, maybe we'll start with you on this one.
So I think it's, once again, you kind of have to look, in my opinion, you have to look deeper. You have to really understand what it is that your value proposition is as an organization, or if you're searching for an opportunity or something like that, as well as what somebody's background or experience is. I tend to look deeper at a candidate. So when I'm reaching out to them, I don't just spray and pray. Like, I try and really kind of understand what it is that our value proposition is, what we could have to offer. And I always tend to look at things from a candidate's perspective. If I was a candidate, would I be interested? Would I respond? Would I engage? And so I think if you work from the backwards forwards, it makes you more effective in terms of your messaging. So to me, that kind of is the fuel of, if I'm on the other side of the desk, do I respond to this? Do I engage? Does this appeal to me? And so I think any approach that you build has to be, you have to have some level of empathy, and you have to have some level of personality. And what I mean by personality, I mean, like, yes, personality in terms of like personality, but it has to be personal. It has to feel like it's going to resonate in whoever might reach this, because, to what I said before, people are very raw. And you want to make sure that when you contact them, that they feel respected and they feel like it's personalized, and you want to make sure that you build an approach that makes them feel like you're not just wasting their time. So it's personalized to their needs. You're understanding the tech, we'll call it the tech stack of what your organization is, or the value proposition of your organization, versus what somebody else's skill set is. And I think if you build a campaign, a process, an approach that way, and then you approach them with that level of communication, that level of empathy, and hopefully use AI to drive that messaging, then I think it seamlessly works, and it will differentiate the individual reaching out, the process, the organization, and just creates a win-win all the way around.
Amazing. And that you use that adjective, seamless, like that to me is one of the key success factors or proof points of a really good process architecture and the tech stack working elegantly together. Matt, as I sort of pass it over to you, I've always sort of focused on, let's really understand what we want that end state experience to look like. Let's build those key requirements, form the process architecture, and then point the technology in the right direction so that it can have that seamless, elegant experience. But tell me your thoughts about this.
Yeah, Jared had a series of great points, rather. But I think as we think about it from a technology and like a product level perspective, there's layers to this that we should be helping to facilitate and simplify for talent acquisition teams. And when I say layers, I mean, what do we know and understand about the company? What do we know and understand about the job? What do we know and understand about the person sending the message? All of those things are inputs into a generative AI kind of capability that allows you to build communication around the job itself. And then I like to call it like kind of nesting some of this AI. So we've also got the idea of nesting kind of personalization to the candidate, in addition to like all of the nuance that the job and the company have. And the more that we can do to kind of nest those two kind of layers in terms of an initial communication to a potential prospective candidate, the better off you are in terms of putting your best foot forward. And the more we learn about you and your communication patterns over time, the more effective it becomes. And I think on the receiving end of it for applicants, or even in a high volume capacity, the same holds true, right? Like you want to automatically respond to an applicant and put your best foot forward, regardless of the outcome. AI helps you to do that from a communication standpoint. And some of the other things that we consider, our flagship products being kind of conversational in nature, we can get you out of the email modality, like I mentioned earlier, and meet candidates where they are, whether it's via SMS, whether it's a chat experience that's very form factor friendly to wherever they are, and allows them to engage with you and your career brand in a way that works best for them, allows them to ask the questions most relevant for them. And then you mentioned earlier about harmonizing it within the technology stack. I mean, context is everything, especially as it pertains to AI. So we should be doing everything we can at the product and AI level to get the context from the candidate to you as a recruiting team. So as you have that personal connection, you understand what's been important to learn more about from the candidate. I think context in terms of helping you find the right people at the right time, in an outbound capacity, is where AI can help as well. So what we try to do in terms of harmonizing that technology into your existing stack is to be complementary into what obtain and have invested your time and energy into as a talent acquisition team. How can we harness that information and extend it into the capabilities around outreach, as well as the capabilities around the right inflection points to find the right people and to communicate in the right way about the right jobs. So that is in a nutshell, like how we approach it from like a product and AI perspective is again seamless, simple, and an extension of yourself. And how can we learn and leverage AI to help be that scale factor for you as a recruiter?
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. And I really like that opportunity to, meet them where they're trying to meet you as an organization, and, give them that great experience, and, elegantly connect into that talent technology stack, that HRIS, and whether you hire them or not, and take some of that data and turn it into intelligence. So now let's talk about how you do that. How do you measure success? How do you know it's a great candidate experience, with your backgrounds? Jared, maybe we'll start with you on this one.
So I'll answer that question in two different ways. I'm gonna answer from I measure success from a technology perspective, and then I'll talk about it from a candidate's perspective, because I think they're both important. I think from a technology perspective, specifically as it relates to AI, specifically it relates to the humanly tool. I think it's on return on investment, meaning how is the response? How is the candidate response? Are they engaging? Are they responding? Are they not responding? How are they responding? I think that's real definitive feedback to us, and certainly AI provides for a lot more metrics and a lot more tracking and a lot more information, but it also provides for ease of adjustment in scale, in mass. You can click a button and change messaging in a second. You can change your approach and the whole tenor of what you're doing in a second, and do it without a thought, and do it hundreds of times repeatable instantly. So that's number one. Number two is you also know by if you're successful by the response you're getting. Like I said, what's that response? How is that response? And it allows you to kind of do things a lot more efficiently. I come from I've been doing this for like 150 years, and I come from the days of there were no computers. There were cards on my desk, and everything was in my head, on a phone, or written. So I've come a long way to leverage these tools and technology. So I know what it's like in the dark ages, and I know what it's like now. And so I can tell you absolutely leveraging technology, it's like a gift. And so the fact that I can now look at how is my impact, how is it being received, what's the message, and if it's being received unfavorably, I can pivot and change it quickly, and I can do that in a campaign style of message number 2, number 3, number 4, whatever it is, and I can do it really quickly, and it will impact everything in terms of a line and moving forward, and I don't have to stress about it. That's number one. Number two is, how do you measure success from a candidate's perspective? I think you ask real data from them. You ask real information. Now, if you're doing it from a company perspective, then perhaps you have a campaign or a survey of how are we doing, and you automate that from an applicant tracking system perspective. And maybe you put in some scripts in there to leverage AI to be able to kind of flip on the fly of if they answer X equals Y and so on and so forth, and kind of make that a living, breathing thing. But I think you also get validation. Any candidates that are going through the process with you, you speak with them. How's your experience been? You'll know, because those results will also be measurable. Because I'm going to tell you, to my point, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I can tell you I have a very high close percentage. It's in the mid to high 90s, and it's always been. And the reason for that is because I take the candidate experience to heart. And so I know if there's trouble before there's trouble, because I've built a relationship with the candidates. So I think if you ask for real validation of how has this experience been for you? How are you receiving this experience? And you find out. And if there are problems, you correct them. But hopefully you're doing the right things and you get that real-time validation of what it's like. So that's
awesome. I could
sort of my
just hear
pennies.
that passion you have about, the candidate experience. And I love how you sort of are asking them the questions at the right times to gauge their level of experience. Matt, how do you measure success?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of overlap. I think, I always have the bias, from a product perspective, just in terms of like, the analytics and things that we can help you to understand and automate. But the biggest thing is candidate success, candidate experience, and candidate rating. So we're giving you the tools, especially through conversational AI, to just ask the candidate point blank, how was your experience? Like, what feedback do you have? And aggregating that and making, that transparent to the folks that use our products. That is probably the number one thing that matters, is how are candidates perceiving your brand, your career brand, and their experience in engaging with you. The rest of it is around efficacy of the technology, return on investment. To Jared's point, like we love to dig into the numbers and find out, from sourcing tech, how fast could you find somebody that you loved? How quickly, how long did it take? What's the interest and conversion rate of those folks that you love? How fast can we get you to find the right applicants? What's the outcome kind of percentage for every applicant that we see? And making sure that like our technology is walking the walk of everything that I've said, right? Like, are we actually allowing you to effectuate the outcomes that you're looking to achieve by leveraging the technology, versus like checking the AI box in terms of your tool stack? Like, you should really be seeing results, and that efficacy is in the form of those outcomes: speed, accuracy, and the candidate experience. And we have a lot of ways that we measure that, and that tells us if we're on the right track or not.
Yeah, love that. Speed, accuracy, and the candidate experience. And, as we get down to the last couple of minutes of this great conversation we're having, Matt, I'm going to just start with you and say, I always call it these proud moments, where you've really elevated that candidate experience, or a big learning. Tell me when, you feel that you've had that great impact, or that biggest challenge, that learning.
Yeah, I think this is a great question. We it's qualitative. It's not, I talked a lot about data, but I feel like it's a more qualitative kind of relationship we have with our customers, and the feedback of overcoming the challenge is probably the best way to say it. So when I say the challenge, I mean, there's a challenge in adoption, in fear, and lack of understanding, and not sure how to move forward. So to me, the success is felt with, getting a like kind of helping consult a customer over that hump of how to get started, how to, like I said, effectuate some of these kind of core workflows and outcomes that you're looking to achieve, and then being able to present it to them and work with them in data and candidate experience and outcomes, and in efficiency and overhead removed. All of those things are kind of those big like success moments, and it never gets old. It's not a like a repetitive thing. It no longer becomes interesting. Like anytime that you can help start the AI journey, and get them over the hump with a customer, like that to me is the biggest success that we can have. And we're here to help coach Sherpa and allow people to understand how that all works.
I love it. I love it. I mean, we are in the people business, right? There is a qualitative element to it. And we definitely want to collaboratively work with organizations to help elevate their hiring program. And key to that is, blending the technology with the process, with the practice, and can say that this is what North Star Talent is all about. Wonderful technologies like Humanly and Terrazzo can truly elevate that candidate experience and hiring quality. I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you to Matt and Jared for your wisdom and your time today, and for the attendees who joined, thank you, and looking forward to the next webinar. So all the best, everybody. Take care.
A lot of fun. Thank you,
Thanks,
Jared.
everybody.
Have a good day.
Take care.